Hello everybody, my name is Steven and welcome back to the Storytime channel. Without wasting any time, let's get into our stories of the day. Horrible wedding guest. During college, I worked for an independent catering company that mainly did weddings. People tend to be either very nice or very mean at weddings to waitstaff, and the company I worked for didn't really care about the customer, so I always tried to go out of my way to make everyone's experience better. Because my company was independent, it means that we would travel to whatever venue the wedding was being held at and didn't actually work for that venue. After dinner at the specific venue, I was bussing plates and had a full stack of about 10 in my hands with silverware in between them, which created some imbalance and they were heavy. I was walking quickly trying to get to the kitchen without being in anyone's way. This woman tried to flag me down as I was coming towards her, and I stopped quickly to say, "I'll be right back, ma'am, I just need to set these down quickly." As I started to walk away, she grabbed the back of my arm and squeezed it, which made me drop the plates I was carrying. Luckily, only a couple of the plates broke and she just sat there and scoffed while I picked them up. Once I was done cleaning up, she snapped her fingers at me and did the finger signal to move in close, and she said, "Now that you're done being a klutz, where's the gift table for me to put my gift for the bride and groom?" I was so taken aback that she would talk to me this way. I explained to her that I only worked for the catering company and wasn't sure about where the venue had set up that station. She responded by saying, "Well, you need to do your job and find out then, don't you?" In the most condescending tone I've ever heard. Now, normally if the guest was nice, I would be more than willing to go find the wedding planner and ask, but not this time. At this point, I was done being treated poorly at my job by guests and my bosses, and it was one of those moments I didn't really care if I got fired or not. So I got on my knees and started bowing to her saying, "Yes, master, of course, master, anything for you, oh great one." She was pissed and her husband was mortified. I got up, looked around the room, and from where she was sitting, I could see a table with gifts on it. I pointed and said, "I think it's over there. You can see it from where you're sitting, and I hope that no one ever talks to you or your kids if you have them like you talk to me." At this point, she was speechless and seemed embarrassed. Her husband mouthed "I'm sorry" to me, and they left shortly after. I didn't get fired, but I chose to quit a couple weddings later after some more unfortunate events. It would take some major restraint if I was in that position. If you were in that position and the lady grabbed your arm and you spilled those plates and broke a few of them, what would you have done? Let me know in the comment section down below. I really don't work here. Background. I usually go to a shop called The Works, which is in the UK, and I love the color blue, usually a light blue. The uniform is dark blue with a yellow outline. They have awesome deals, by the way. Story. Me. SOL. Sweet old lady Karen. SW. Store worker. I'm on a day trip out with my mom and dad. Me and mom are in the shop and are browsing at some store stock. We've been a lot, so I knew my way around, and this is where it starts. I'm wearing joggers and a black hoodie because I was coldish. "Excuse me, dear, could you tell me where the art supplies are?" "I don't work here, but of course, they're right over there on the far wall." "Thank you for your help." Then I turned back to what I was looking at, and the battle cry of Karen is heard. "Excuse me." Doesn't turn around thinking there's a staff member she's trying to get the attention of, but sadly no. "Excuse me." I turn around and I'm confronted by the typical Karen. "Young people today don't know respect." Before I get a chance to say I don't work here, she continues. "Where are the children's books?" "Over there on the huge display. It's the most colorful display in the store." "So rude, I want to speak to your supervisor." "Yeah, not gonna happen. I don't work here." "Yes you do, you're wearing the uniform." Looks at myself. "Really? I think you need to get your eyes checked." Store worker says, "Is there something I can help you with?" "This employee is so disrespectful, I want them fired." Store worker just looks at me and what I'm wearing, wondering how the heck she thinks I work for the company. "She doesn't work here." "Of course she does." "Ma'am, if you're going to make a scene and harass this customer any longer, you will be asked to leave. If not, security will come and remove you." Karen storms out in a huff. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine, just shaken up. I'm gonna find my mom, thank you though." She watches me make my way to my mom, making sure I'm not bothered again. Me explains to my mom and she's kinda angry but thanks to the store worker for her help. Story time over. This one was kind of a basic I don't work here lady story, but it kind of brings you back to those roots where you realize you'd feel terrified being confronted by these Karens and them demanding that they need to speak to your manager when you don't work there but they're not letting you get a single word out. "I know you don't work here." Usual spiel, I'm on mobile, so apologies for any formatting issues. Late last year, just before Christmas, I was shopping when I saw the guy in front of me put his wallet in his back pocket. He missed and it fell to the floor. I picked it up and then this happened. "Excuse me, He turned around and said before I could finish what I was saying, "I don't work here, Karen." He turned to his mate and laughed, so I tried again. He stooped so he was face to face and spoke very slowly. "Listen, Boomer, I said I don't work here." His mate then laughed while saying they found a Karen in the wild. "Listen, Brad, I know you don't work here. You dropped your wallet. I was trying to give it back to you." I lifted up the wallet to show him. The look of shock was brilliant. He spluttered a feeble sorry and put his hand out to take it from me. I smiled and dropped it. I then kicked it under the store shelving. As I left the store, I saw him on the floor trying to get it out. He saw me and I smiled and gave him the finger. Yeah, I think the guy deserved it. Because black for clothes is the color of employment. I was at a comedy club and I had to leave mid-show to use the restroom. The audience exit is right next to the bar. As I'm trying to leave as quietly as possible, an intoxicated couple comes up to me. The woman hands me her credit card and tells me to bring her the check. I try to give the card back, telling her I'm not an employee, but she won't take no for an answer. "You're wearing black, that's the color of employment." I was in black skinny jeans, but I was also in a red shirt with a black coat. The employees had black slacks, black t-shirts, name tags, and an apron for their notepads. Note that the drunk couple was also wearing mostly black. I try to shush her, we're still technically in the theater, but she gets louder. "Just take the dang card and do your job." An employee came over, took her card, and let me go my way. As I was coming back from the restroom, the couple is struggling with their coats at the coat check. The guy notices me, tells his wife, and they both glare daggers at me until I'm back in the theater. I told the person I was with about what happened after the show. They said that the couple was part of the regular crowd and liked to get trashed on the weekends. They always leave when asked to, so management won't ban them. Well, at least they're not overly hostile. They were kind of aggressive in wording, but they leave when they're asked to, so that's a plus. Wrong number at San Antonio International Airport. In the mid-80s, we lived in San Antonio, Texas in an apartment. Landlines were the only real option, so we got one. This was our first apartment as a new couple, so we were excited to have our own phone. In the first 6 months, we had 2 or 3 wrong number calls, but they were very specific in their request. They'd always ask us to turn the temperature up or down. That was bizarre enough, but then the calls started coming several times a week. I finally got one caller to explain she worked in a big office building at the airport for a large company, and their heating and cooling was controlled by the thermostat in the building across the busy 4-lane road. Same company, but different departments in the 2 buildings. She didn't know why it was like that, but she'd been told to call over whenever it got really hot or cold. She was nice and professional and promised to fix the little sign next to the phone where somebody had written our phone number by mistake. Apparently, their last digit was 1 off from our phone number. The next day, the calls doubled. A different woman explained that they'd received a new company directory of phone numbers that morning, and now everyone knew to call our number to change the temperature. I think the lady I talked to the previous day made a mistake. The new company directory had been distributed to every desk in that building. It was laminated. You can all guess where this is going, right? It took me a bit to convince my wife, but she finally let me have my fun. She did giggle when I'd answer the phone and tell whoever was calling that we had the temperature perfect over here and we weren't about to screw it up for them. This went on for a couple weeks and our friends and neighbors got to witness my response to a few of them. One day, the caller didn't like my attitude and threatened to come over and have a talking to me. I pretty much threatened his manhood and laughed that he'd never find me over here. He called back several times searching for me, and I'd tell him he was getting colder or warmer and then finally say, "See, I still control the temperature." It just stopped after that. We watched the news for anything about it for a couple days, but nothing came of it. We never received another call from them. I know what I did wasn't mature, but I was an 18-year-old kid and didn't realize they could have actually found out where I lived and shown up to deliver the beating I deserved. I just got lucky. I'm not saying I regret it, just not quite so proud of it as I used to be. At some point, you would either try to change your number or you would do something to deal with it. So I don't blame LP for having an outlet here where they're trying to just kind of yank around these people that keep calling erroneously. I don't have the keys to this kingdom. I've been mistaken for an employee on various occasions, largely due to the fact that I walk with a lot of purpose and a scowl. So people actively avoid me, and the other being, I tend to wear my keys on my hip. I do not dress remotely close to any of these stored uniforms, but I digress. Normal interactions happen, such as in Target where someone will approach me for a question, and I act visibly confused while saying I don't work there. Or when folks try to speak to me in Spanish, which I don't speak, understand, or even look like I could speak it, however poorly. Amusing interactions happen, like when my adult child self was crouched down looking for dinosaur slippers that maybe fit me in the kids' shoe section in Walmart around midnight, and a woman asked about little girl shoes. We both laughed and I actually pointed her to them, and sadly had no luck finding the dinosaur slippers. The most frustrating to another person and hilarious to me after the fact was in an Albertsons grocery store. It was earlier in the morning and there weren't many people in the store. I think I'd gotten off an early shift and had forgotten a single ingredient for dinner that night, and was annoyed for various reasons, including being awake and in the presence of other human beings. Obviously, I'm walking with purpose and with keys on my hip. I pass a man as I'm practically jogging through the store and he steps in my path, all 6 feet of him to my 5'4" female self, full of rage. He demanded to know where something was, and I decided to not break my stride, sidestep him, and respond with, "I have no idea, ask an employee." "You don't work here?" Me retreating and jangling into the distance. "Nope." "But you have keys." Well, over a year later, I wish I had given any other reply than continuing to angrily walk away and get glared at by this man as I left. I too can get annoyed at the reason of having to be in the presence of other human beings. I resonated with that sentence. Gas pump jockey days. High school memory. High school days a long time ago, but one of my funniest memories. I pumped gas at night, 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. 5 nights a week for the princely sum of $2.50 per hour. Well, I worked at a Shell gas station. "Check the oil with your fill-up, sir?" I was late closing as a car came in needing a fan belt. Shut down the lights at the pumps at 11 p.m. and got a new belt installed. Customer out of there by 11:40 p.m. Since we're full serve only, it was a nickel a gallon cheaper to fill up down the street at the self-service Exxon. 20-gallon gas tank, that was almost $1 savings. They were open till midnight, so after getting locked up, I headed down to the Exxon to fill up. So I'm down there filling up my tank, and this 40-something older woman in a caddy starts laying on her horn. Not just a tap, but non-stop blaring. Really, what is your problem? She finally stops long enough to scream at me, "Stop what I'm doing." I was checking my oil, and fuel her car right now. I point to the sign that says self-serve on all the pumps. She won't have anything to do with that, even when I point out that I don't work there. "Don't give me any of that. I see your name right there on your shirt. I'm going to have you fired." Fine by me. I ran up to the cashier to pay. She was the only one there and had heard us, but we were laughing about it. I went back to my car as it had hit midnight, as the cashier shut down all the lights and pumps and called it a night. I drove off as the caddy was still sitting there. Sign says self-serve. They don't work there. They said they don't work there. Lady should have gotten the picture. Now, they're not going to get anything. But with that being said, that's all the stories we have for today. So what I want to know is, which of these stories was your personal favorite and why? Let me know which of these stories from today was your personal favorite in the comments section down below. And thank you all so very much for watching and listening to the Storytime channel today. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing and don't forget to turn notifications on so you will never miss an upcoming video from the Storytime channel. Thank you all again for watching and listening to the Storytime channel.